Welcome back in to Exit 99 Sports. My name is Caleb Deloach. By myself this week. Shout out to Cody. He's on vacation, much needed vacation down at Disney, him and the family. So hope he's enjoying all the nice, warm Disney weather down there. But I'll take over here by myself this week. Get to talk about some really, really good and really fun basketball that's been going on here in this area specifically. And we'll touch on a few other things later on, but yeah, a lot of great basketball here in this area. We're in the heart of the season for everybody. There's a lot of conference games going on. There's great out-of-conference games going on. So a lot to talk about, and we'll just jump right in, starting off with this past week. The Jackson Indians and Notre Dame Bulldogs faced off Tuesday at Jackson. Jackson won that one 60-45. Cole Deck led the way for the Indians with 23. Braden Thompson paced him with 11, scoring in double digits, I think, for the first time this season. So shout out to Braden. And yeah, that just felt like a bounce-back game more than anything for Jackson. You know, they just lost to Cape Friday before. Tough, emotional loss, big crowd. You know, Cape wins the season series, taking 2 of 3 from the Indians. And yeah, Jackson just came out on fire. I mean, you could tell from the very beginning they were not going to let this be a close game that goes down to the wire. They were hitting shots. Cole Deck came out on fire early. Everybody was hitting shots. Jackson shot the 3 extremely well in the first half of that one. They were blowing out Notre Dame by halftime. They're winning by 18. Yeah, and overall it was just pretty much Jackson cruising throughout the game. Myself and Cody do call Jackson games on the radio, so we were there and getting to do the play-by-play for that, and it was a slow game. Both teams committed a million fouls. I think it was in the 50s total number of fouls. I think the free throws were 51 total free throws shot between the two teams, and Jackson did a pretty good job shooting free throws in that game, something they've been kind of up and down with throughout the season. So they got back on track, won that game big. Like I said, it was a very physical game, you can say. Notre Dame came out trying to be the aggressor early on. Obviously, Jackson has a significant size advantage. You know, they have John Ernst at 6'7", then Lee Ivey, Braden Thompson, Austin Criddle, all 6'3", 6'4", somewhere in that range. And then Cole Deck on the wing, who's 6'6" as well, provides a lot of length. And you could tell that was something Notre Dame tried to nullify by being physical early on. And it just ended up with them getting a million fouls, sent Jackson to the line a lot. You know, there was a lot of off-ball fouls. Referees did a good job, trying to keep it under control. Never got too overtly chippy. They were able to kind of rein it in a little bit, but it didn't require calling 1,000 fouls. It felt like by the end of the game, everybody was in foul trouble. Even in the fourth quarter, when it was a foregone conclusion that the Indians were going to win, it was just like, here's a foul, here's a foul, here's a foul. It was every 30 seconds we were stopping. So it wasn't the greatest, paced game of all time, but Jackson, big win, back in the win column, kind of get their mojo back. And they had another, 2-game week this week where they played Notre Dame. And on Friday, they played Ladue, tough game on the road. And then Notre Dame, on the flip side, they lose that one pretty big, which isn't great going in for the rest of their week because Notre Dame had a very busy week as they went to Nixa, play in the Nixa Invitational Tournament, and they played 3 games over there, so a very, very busy week for the Bulldogs, starting out with the loss. Not the way they want to go. The Indians, within the game, did a great job kind of taking away the two-headed monster for Notre Dame. It's Colton Johnson, it's Brett Dohan. I believe they combined for 4 made field goals between the two of them. I think Brett Dohan made 1 shot, which was mind-boggling to me. He's a guy I expect to see put up 20 every night. Him and Colton pretty much scored all their points on the free throw line, or at least predominantly all their points on the free throw line. And yeah, Jackson did a great job defensively on them. And then, yeah, Notre Dame just didn't really have an answer for Cole, especially early in the ball game. And he got hot. And as he got hot, they had to throw more bodies at him, and he was able to find open guys. And people made plays, Like I said, Braden Thompson came out, had 11, which is huge. He's not a guy that is known for his scoring acumen, but we'll see later in the week he does so again. So maybe, Braden Thompson kind of feeling it inside, getting some more confidence, scoring around the rim. But moving on, another ball game in Cape County. The Tigers knocked off Hillsboro. Hillsboro came to Cape Central. Cape won that 53-40, which is an impressive win, in my opinion. Holding Hillsborough to 40 points. They're a team that I got to watch play against Jackson earlier in the year. The Indians went up there to play Hillsborough. Hillsborough has one kid, 6'8", center, Greg Robinson, big kid, athletic. And the Tigers did a great job. I'm looking at Hillsborough's stats. Robinson was held to only 9 points in that game, 1 of 7 shooting, 1 of 6 inside. He takes a million free throws. He draws a ton of fouls. But in this one, they fouled him a few times, sent him to the line for 10 total free throws. He went 7 of 10 there. So that's where he got nearly all of his points. And it looks like, his presence wasn't even that strong on the defensive side. He has 1 block, it looks like, in the game. They forced him to have 5 turnovers. So it's kind of been a theme here as of late for Cape Central. The defense has been, absolutely incredible. You just look, starting with, I would say, the Christmas tournament. Before that, they were kind of giving up some more. They were giving up a few more points than they have been. In the SEMO Conference tournament, for example, they gave up 56 to Charleston, 53 to Jackson. They gave up 90 to Saxony. They bounced back, gave up 72 to Farmington. And then in the Christmas tournament, just something flipped a switch. Defense can be a scheme thing at times. It can be some coaching adjustments you make here and what you're running against different people. But at the high school level, it feels like defense traditionally is just very, how much effort and how much focus you're putting in on that side of the ball. Obviously not as fun as putting the ball to the hoop, but if you do take pride in it, it can be a very fun thing. And that's what Cape Central has done. They've given up 41 to Advance, 23 to Bell City, 54 to a Woodland team that scores like 80 a game. They gave up 50 in a loss to Jackson. And then that is their last loss, the championship of the Christmas tournament. They blew out Dexter, gave up 36. Beat Notre Dame by 10, but only gave up 33. They held Scott City, another high-scoring team, to 51. They held Jackson to 42, beat them, held Hillsborough to 40, and then they played great defense. The rest of this week, we'll close out. We'll get to those games here in a moment. But the Cape Central defense has been incredible. That is where they've really started to hang their hat on that side of the ball. And then obviously, the guys who you expect to score have still been playing pretty well. Tyshandre Edwards, Mateo Rivers, Marquez Mills. Antonio Sims has been playing a little bit more offensively oriented. He's been doing some things. Goliath Morris Young has continued to look good. Jathan Spain's been putting in good minutes. Landry McFerrin's been putting in good minutes. And so, Cape's just really rounding into form. The defense has just become like a boa constrictor. They have just been crushing teams on that side of the ball. So it was cool to see them get that big win over Hillsborough. As I said, Hillsborough not bad. So Cape picking up another victory there. Last, game of a Cape County team, Saxony went on the road to Kelly, picked up a big victory, 67-60 over Kelly. Kelly having a little bit of a down year, similar to Saxony. So it was cool to see the Crusaders go in there. Once again, shout out to Coach Scott, Abernathy, everybody. Over at Saxony, picking up a win there. And then some of the other area games, Kennett beat Poplar Bluff. I thought that was an impressive win for Kennett, as that district kind of get more and more interesting. Class 4 District 1 on the boys' side. East Prairie blew out Twin Rivers. Farmington, Class 5 District 1 with a lot of teams. Cape Central, Sykeston, Farmington, Festus. They beat Festus by 15. And then Charleston, a team that we might talk about a little bit more later, they went on the road to Class 6 Hazelwood Central, only lost that game by 4. Charleston's looking a little bit better here. They've kind of rounded into form. They got some young guys. We'll talk about them here shortly. As I mentioned, Notre Dame had to go on the road to Nixa, played 3 games over there, south of Springfield a little bit. Played the Nixa Invitational Tournament. They were there last year. First game, they played Logan Rogersville. Logan Rogersville is incredible. I think they were a Final Four team last year. They're very, very tough. They have a guard. I think his name is Chase Branham. He is incredible. They knocked off Notre Dame that first game, 76-35. The tournament was a little weird. Because New Madrid, another Southeast Missouri team, didn't make the trip, I assume due to more illness. That's been a real struggle for a lot of teams in the Boot Heel. And so there was some interchanging of teams. But Notre Dame took on Logan Rogersville, kind of got it put on them. But Logan Rogersville is a Final Four contender. So it's a bad loss numbers-wise. Also, interesting note, over at Nixa for this tournament, they were using a shot clock, 35-second shot clock. So I'll be interested to hear from Notre Dame people when I do get that chance, it's kind of what their thoughts were, how it kind of felt. I watched a couple of the games, and the game flowed pretty well. It didn't feel like there was a lot of bad shot taking. It's kind of a concern among people I know around here. What's his team's going to be chucking up bad shots? It didn't feel like it. It really felt like, it encouraged teams to play really, really good offense. And then felt like Notre Dame's offense did start clicking as the week went on. A couple other games touch on here in the area outside of Cape County. Scott City, big win over South Pemiscot. South Pemiscot is a very good team, also coming off a Final Four run in Class 2. Kobe Watson had 26. Kobe Watson's been awesome as of late. He's been balling out. He had 1,000 points recently. He had 27 against Cape. I mean, he's been an all-around scorer. That was something I saw in the article about that game, I think, was Coach Dan Mueller, who talking about Kobe Watson, who felt like he came into the year, known as a shooter. He's really developed into an all-around scorer, and he's been showing that off. I mean, 6'6", he can score around the rim, shoot from all spots on the floor. So he's really been balling out. And then over in Stoddard County Tournament, Puxico beat Dexter on Thursday night. Woodland beat Bernie 90-63 to set up a big-time matchup. A lot of people were looking for. Everybody was kind of expecting Woodland and Puxico in that championship. And then Chaffee knocked off Meadow Heights by 4. So Chaffee continuing a nice turnaround season, improving. So it's nice to see Chaffee playing well. Fowler over there, he's a phenomenal player. And then Friday night, I had, along with Cody, the opportunity to go up to St. Louis. Jackson took on Ladue in that ball game, and it was a great game. Honestly, coming into the game, if you would have asked me, I would not have expected Jackson to win that game. Ladue was number 3 in Class 5. They maybe run a little bit different of a system than most teams in Southeast Missouri. They are very reliant on the three-point shot. They spread you out. They play 5 out. They got guys that all can drive and score at the rim, kick out, and if you leave shooters open, they can really make you pay. I mean, they're a good team. They were a lot of fun to kind of watch run that offense. And, it's a team Jackson played last year, and they came down to the Jackson Event Center, and Ladue was also state-ranked at that point in time, and the Indians knocked them off. They came in on I believe, 13-game win streak. I have it here. Yeah, they won 13 straight, and then Jackson knocked them off in that one. And so I expected Ladue to really be out for blood, try to, kind of get back here for the tough loss at Jackson a season ago. But the Indians prevailed 70-64, which if you're an Indians fan, I say that Jackson scored 70 points in a ball game. Probably raises your eyebrows. Jackson, not the highest scoring team usually, averaging like mid-50s points a game. Put up 70 because of the, pace that Ladue plays with. It was a very up and down game, fun, back and forth. Ladue, like I said, spreads out, shoots a ton of threes, a lot of long rebounds, and also Ladue on the other side will full court press the entire game. They're looking to force turnovers, get quick, easy shots. I'd say Jackson really handled it well. That was the other biggest, schematic worry I had about Jackson in that game was having to play against a team that pressures. The Indians have been up and down at times with turnovers. Early in the ballgame, Jackson did struggle with turnovers, but it felt like in the second half they really settled down. And, yeah, it was a good game. Back and forth. Jackson started out really hot. Cold Deck finished with 21. And he was held really in check nearly the entire first half. Jackson, like I said, came out hot. And then Ladue just flipped a switch. They started hitting shots. Like, they are a make-shots team. And so they started making shots. And they got back in the game. They took a lead. I think they led by 6, maybe 8. And then right at the end of the half, with about 30 seconds left, Jackson got a steal, outlet to Cold Deck. He went full court, layup. Jackson comes back down the other way. Another stop, Cold Deck, full court, layup. Felt like that got him going and also got Jackson back in the game. They were trailing by 2 going into halftime. And then, start of the third quarter, the Indians just came out hot again. They played really, really well. They played great defense there in the third quarter and took a lead once again. They were leading by 7, 8 into that third quarter, going into the fourth, and then it was just kind of a pretty even game played in the fourth quarter, back and forth. It felt like Ladue. They had a big home crowd, so it was a very fun atmosphere. It felt like they were going to maybe get over the hump, take a lead. They couldn't do it. So Jackson, great perseverance. It's been what they've done all season, a little bit more high scoring, like I said, than usual, but it's what they do all season. They play generally, they play winning basketball down the stretch. They keep these games close. The only exception the last 2 months has been the Cape Central game this past a couple of Fridays ago now. Outside of that, Jackson, plays close ball games. They make winning plays when they need to. And speaking of making winning plays, the second half, Jackson shot 18 of 21 from the free throw line. I think they started 3 of 7. So that was a kind of a eyebrow raise moment for me. Like, if this is going to be a close game, you got to start shooting free throws better. And they did. They closed out strong. Everybody was making their free throws. The Thomas, Cole Dick, guys really stepped up. Lee Ivy was hitting free throws. So John Ernst shot well. And the most impressive part for me was kind of all the scoring around Cole. He had 21 in the game. So, doing what he does, over 20 points. Very aggressive in the second half, found shots, was hitting from the perimeter. So he got going in the second. But then, Braden Thompson, Lee Ivy, Colton Toma, and John Ernst all finished with 9 points. I think John had 6 points there in the fourth quarter. Colton hit free throws late. Ivy did a good job hitting free throws late. He's become a lot more aggressive around the rim. It's been fun to see him taking a little bit more urgency around the basket. When he does get good looks, getting one-on-one, he's feeling confident, I think, to score. And then Thompson, like I said, Braden Thompson did the same thing. He really dominated early. It was impressive. He came out in the first quarter, got inside, got around the basket, posted up some guys, because Ladue didn't really play traditional big men at all. It's really just 5 guards of varying heights. I think the tallest kid on the entire team was 6'4". So that was another team that, Jackson looked to kind of take advantage of in the paint, and they did so. That's where they scored a lot of points. Jory Toma also finished with 8. They did a fantastic job this whole week guarding Jory Toma, Colton Toma out on the perimeter, trying to deal with all these guards from Ladue. They did a great job on those guys. Ladue had a very quick point guard, Treziah Edwards, who was tough to stay in front of. They did great with him. And they did great against Notre Dame. They did a good job keeping Logan Londaway out of the paint and chasing Colton Johnson off of a million screens as he was running all over the court. And so the calling card for Jackson has been defense. Obviously, they gave up 64 in this one, a lot more than they're used to giving up. But they did enough. They got enough stops when they needed to and, held Ladue in check the last couple minutes of the ball game and came out with a tough victory at a state-ranked team in Ladue. And I'll get to it in a minute. The schedule doesn't get any easier for the Indians. But then also Friday night here in Cape Girardeau, the Tigers knocked off Poplar Bluff, won that one 51-35, another good conference win for Cape Central. They're undefeated still in conference, still just kind of setting up for the rematch with Sykeston on who's going to win that regular season conference crown. Mateo Rivers was the guy to get going in this one. He had 15, one of maybe his highest scoring output of the season. Tyshandra Edwards had 14, Goliath Morris Young had 9. Those 3 did a great job. Poplar Bluff hampered by injuries. If you know Poplar Bluff, they're coached by William Durden. He has 2 sons on the team, and both of those kids were out, and they are, I believe, the 2 leading scorers on the team. So it was definitely an offensively challenged Poplar Bluff team, to say the least, but Cape Central, 35 points given up again. I did one of their games a couple weeks ago at Scott City. That's what I talked about with their assistant coach, James Lane. He said they've just been locked in. They've been locked in on the defensive side. Like I said earlier, defense, it's a lot about just focus and energy and, putting yourself out there to be a good defender. It is, obviously, helps if you're not slow, helps if you are incredibly quick like a Mateo Rivers or, super long, athletic like Morris Young and Tyshandra Edwards, crazy wingspans, strong builds and all, but those guys weren't guarding well early in the season. They were giving up 60 points, 70 points, 90 points, and they've just really flipped a switch here as of late. And so they look really good. This is not the same Cape Central that you might have saw the first couple of weeks, first month or 2 of the season. They are looking very, very good, very, very dangerous down the stretch. And then Notre Dame played their second game over at Nixa. They lost to Hillcrest, heartbreaker, lost 60-57. It was tough. It was a close game all the way through, nearly the entire ball game. It was kind of back and forth, and Hillcrest just got stopped there at the end. Notre Dame couldn't get over the hump. They fell to 0-2 with that one. And then Saxony went on the road to Donovan, dropped that one 71-47. Once again, just keeping up with Farmington in Class 5 District 1. They beat Potosi big, third time to beat Potosi. Potosi, a good team. So another big win for Farmington. And we get to Saturday. There was actually a decent amount of Saturday games for boys basketball. And the big one here, once again, in Cape Girardeau was the Tigers. They played Jeff City. Jeff City is a team who has gone to back-to-back Final Fours. They finished third and finished second. And, they're a good team. They bring back a good amount off to that team from last season that went to the Final Four. They were bigger than Cape Central across the board almost positionally. They had good size inside. They have 6'8" kids, 6'7", 6'6" kids. So I thought they were going to, maybe make things pretty difficult for Cape. I thought they might be able to kind of beat them up. And that was not the case. Cape won that one, 44-34. Once again, the Tigers defense, insane. They gave up 34 points, 35 points, back-to-back nights, playing back-to-back games against, maybe not the toughest Poplar Bluff team right now, especially with how injured they are, but a conference opponent, Poplar Bluff, on homecoming. And then a Jeff City team coming off of a state title run. So the defense, insane this year for them. Jeff City was Class 5, number 10 coming into this ball game, and Cape shut them down. Tyshandre led the way. He had 19. He came out super hot in the first quarter. He was hitting everything. He was getting to the rim, scoring at the rim at will. Mateo did good early in the ball game, knocking down shots. He finished with 7. Goliath Morris Young had 8. Scored most of those in the second half. Yeah, Cape came out and just jumped all over him from the beginning. I mean, they were leading by as much as 18, I think, in that game. They were just crushing them to start the ball game. I think it was just a massacre starting the ball game. They held, I think, Jeff City to 2 points for about the first 6 minutes and kind of just coasted from there a little bit with the victory. I mean, felt like they kind of ran out of gas, obviously playing their third game of the week, back-to-back nights. Very tough thing to do, especially, tough teams like they're playing. Yeah, and Jeff City kind of just had a mental breakdown. It felt, the emotional breakdown more so than anything. They, as you might feel whenever you go to a different part of the state to play basketball, the refs might call things different. People play different. I know that from my experience, playing for Jackson back in the day. Like, we would go to different parts of St. Louis. They would call the game differently there. We go to Central Missouri. It'd be called differently. So something you just have to adjust to. Jeff City was very upset with the officiating. I think they had a player get a tee. Their coach got a tee. I mean, they lost by 10. If they weren't just giving up free possessions, free points, could have been a different ballgame. But Cape Central, once again, played tough, played smart, did not let the emotions spill over on their side, and came up with another victory. So, I mean, it's all things are turning up Cape right now. Like, they are on a phenomenal run, 7 straight wins, and 7 wins over decent opponents, like I said. And they beat Jackson, they beat Bluff, Hillsboro's a solid team. They beat Jeff City, who's a great team. So it's been a good run for Cape Central. There's nothing, no notes, really. Cape Central's playing awesome defense. If they are able to keep playing defense like that, if they can keep getting production out of Tyshandre, Marquez Mills, Goliath, Mateo, there's not going to be a lot of teams that can beat them if they play the way they have been playing the last month here. And then also Saturday, up at Mineral Area College, Saxony played Newburgh. Newburgh, not around this area, but Newburgh came over to MAC. And Saxony dropped that one close, 152-49. Heartbreaking loss over for the Crusaders. Tough season. I said it, the last couple pods. They lost a lot from last season. New coaching change, everything. So a lot of change, a lot of turnover. Hasn't been the best season, but I have a lot of faith in those guys they've got over there, and I think they'll be building, and they're going to keep improving as this season goes on, and then potentially be a solid team even next year. And over at Nixa, last game of the tournament for Notre Dame, the Bulldogs go 0-3. They finished Nixa at the Nixa tournament 0-3. They lost to Lighthouse Christian, 61-60. I watched most of that ball game. It was, once again, back and forth. Both teams had, 8, 10-point leads here and there. But playing with the shot clock, it does kind of, you're never safe. Notre Dame had a point late in the game where they were leading, and you would feel like normally they would just back it out and move the ball and try to run clock, and take as much time as Lighthouse would let them. But you weren't able to do that. You had 35 seconds. You got to get a shot up and keep the game moving. And Lighthouse was able to, come from behind there late in the ball game, win that one by 1. It's just kind of, where does the production come from outside of the two big, the big hitters for the team? Colton Johnson in that game had 31 points. Brett Dohan had 20. For the tournament, by the way, Colton Johnson played great. All tournament team type performance, 20.3 points per game. Every night he was really showing up, balling out for Notre Dame. His play has improved as the season's gone on. It felt like early in the season, with teams keying on him very heavily, maybe shots weren't falling. His shot has been falling. In that game, he was hitting very tough shots. He was getting nice mid-range jumpers. He was getting to the rim, getting to the free throw line. So his game is really kind of feel like it's rounding in to form right now. And Dohan, obviously, 20-point performance again. But that's 51 of the 61. And that's just going to be what it is. Those guys are going to do their thing. Probably not combined for 51 most nights, but put up close to 40, you would expect most nights, 35, 40. And, just can you get enough production? And those guys around him are talented. I like what I've seen from different people here and there. Like Logan Londaway is a very good point guard. I like Brody Harden a lot. Brody Harden's been playing pretty well lately. He did the same move multiple times in the game I watched against Lighthouse Christian. He did it like 5 times against Jackson. It keeps working. He takes it on the right wing. He drives to the free throw line. He'll spin back to his right hand, get to the rim, shoot a layup. Somehow people haven't watched film, and I've watched him play like 2 times in a week, and he's done the same thing over and over again. But he's been playing well. I digress. He's been playing well. They have good pieces. And it's just, are those other guys' confidence to kind of step up, knock down shots, and not just defer to kind of those guys, the senior leaders that are the ones really kind of running the show up there for Notre Dame. And then the only other note from this from Saturday, Saxton went on the road for the Union tournament. That was throughout the week. I know they played like Monday in the middle of the week, and then they played St. Francis Borgia. Dropped that game to Borgia, which was a big surprise to me. 67-60. I expected Saxton to kind of walk through that tournament. I didn't expect much competition. I'd seen Borgia earlier in the year. Obviously, you can't judge a team from the first week of the season, but they had lost a lot from last year. This wasn't the same Borgia team that they had the last couple of years that were winning 25-plus ball games. So I thought Saxton would really cruise through that. You never know. Like, this area has been killed with sickness. So that might have been part of the issue. I'm not sure totally. But, yeah, Saxton goes up there, drops that one to Borgia. And then getting into girls basketball, I'll hit a pause button on the Jackson going to the Lindbergh tournament. I'll talk about the other games we had in the area. Monday, Notre Dame went to Kennett, picked up a big win, 71-54. That was, dominated mostly inside. Notre Dame had a good size advantage over Kennett. It's another thing for Kennett. They have a girl named Elise Edwards, if you're not familiar. She was the SEMO Conference Player of the Year last year as only a freshman. As a sophomore, she reached 1,000 points on January 9th. So, she is insane scoring the ball. She is so much fun to watch. In that game, she had 38 points, and she went 16-28. She does it from everywhere. She can shoot. She gets to the mid-range. She gets to the rim. She's like 5'2", and she can still score from everywhere, so she's a fun player. But Notre Dame did enough to knock off Kennett. Won that one 71-54. Liza Barnett, Olivia Wagner really did a lot of the damage inside. And picked up a big win. Notre Dame getting a nice road conference victory, never easy to do. And speaking of that, Cape Central kind of been up and down. Went on the road to New Madrid, won that game big, 58-39. So congrats to the Tigers getting that big victory, nearly by 20 points on the road at New Madrid, who, once again, I don't know where New Madrid's at health-wise and stuff, but that was a team that beat Cape earlier in the year in the SEMO Conference tournament. So shout out to those girls going on the road, picking up a tough conference victory. Never easy to do in the SEMO Conference, boys or girls, to go on the road. And then finally on Monday, Saxony went on the road, dropped one to Festus, 42. Saxony played again Wednesday. They played Perryville at home. Lost that one 45-26. Perryville, a decent squad. They have a girl, I believe her name's Lindbergh. Very good player for them. And then Thursday night, Notre Dame was supposed to be hosting New Madrid, but that game got canceled, I believe, due to illness on the New Madrid side. And Saxony played back-to-back, lost to Sykeston. Big this time, 75-37. Sykeston, a good team here in the SEMO Conference. Definitely in the upper tier of the conference. Have a good player, Landry Hammondtree, big-time scorer for them. Saxony, kind of tough week, going 0-3. It's a tough season, similar deal. A lot of youth on the team. Things not going their way. A lot of people having to step up into new roles. It's been a down year. But it's just another situation where this year, not a lot to look forward to maybe the rest of the way. But I do think as the season goes on, these girls will keep getting more varsity experience. And the group that comes back next year, I think, is going to be much improved and definitely be back up in the upper half of the SEMO Conference. On the girls' side, and then the other thing I'll touch on is the Scott County, Mississippi tournament. Delta won that over Chaffee, got back, made up for losing to Chaffee earlier in the year. Delta continues great run this season once again, 62-50. They're going to be a force once again, Class 1 in the state tournament. But yeah, the thing I want to talk about, not to be a homer once again, but Jackson goes on up to Lindbergh and wins the Lady Flyer tournament, the Lindbergh tournament up there on the girls' side. It's a tournament the boys have too every year. The boys and girls both have a tournament. And Jackson went up there. Jackson was the 3 seed in that tournament, so not the favorite whatsoever. I mean, Indians only had 1 loss coming in, but they played some tough competition. Night 1, they played the host Lindbergh, who is 4-8 going into the game. Not a great team, but still tough to go play, on the road in a tournament setting. And, I mean, the Indians just suffocated them on defense. Jackson won 49-26. Not a high-scoring game. The Indians are a good offensive team. They get speed teams up. Shots weren't really falling. But, they did more than enough to win, winning by 23. Cameron Alsdorf, she had 10 in that ball game. She played well all week. And then in the semifinals, Jackson played MICDS, who is a private school up there in the St. Louis area, kind of western St. Louis. And the Indians won that one in overtime, 65-49. It was a great game. I watched that one start to finish. The Indians played well at times. They jumped out, got a lead early in the ball game. They played great. In that one, it was the Kate Deck game. She was out of her mind. She had 28 points. She made 4 threes. Only a freshman, and if you haven't figured out by now, the younger sister of Cole Deck on the boys' side. So the scoring genes continue in the Deck family. Yeah, and Jackson, played well. They hit the offensive glass really hard. They took care of the ball. MICDS came out and pressured them, but Jackson took care of the ball early. Led by 8 at halftime, but things kind of fell apart in the third quarter, especially on the defensive side. MICDS got a lot of easy looks, but it's worth mentioning, MICDS is led by a girl by the name of Jordan Haywood. If you don't know her, look her up. Jordan Haywood, 6'1", 6'2", freshman. I'll say the girls' resources and recruiting and stuff like that, not as advanced as the boys. But from what I could find, Jordan Haywood is the number 1 freshman in the state of Missouri, one of the best freshmen in America, and she has a ton of offers. She has double-digit, high major D1 offers already as only a 9th grader. So she is a stud. She had 20. So shout out to Kate Deck, also a freshman, outpacing her, putting up 28. And, yeah, it was a great game, back and forth. MICDS came all the way back, took a big lead. I think they went up by as much as 10 in that third quarter going into the fourth quarter. And, Jackson just kind of maybe lost focus on the press. MICDS maybe ramped it up a little bit, started turning it over. Maybe not the best shot selection. And then the fourth quarter came around. Jackson trailed big net at that point, and then the press for the Indians kind of got them back into the game. It's really kind of kicked back in. They started forcing a lot of turnovers. And, it was just a great fourth quarter. Coming down the stretch, Cameron Allsdorf, once again, she made huge plays on offense, knocking down shots, getting to the free throw line. She finished with 14 in the game. And then other person I want to shout out was Addison Henderson. She played great defense, made great hustle offensive rebounds. She was one that hit the buzzer beater to put it into overtime. She had a little mid-range floater and knocked that down, sent it to overtime. But she played great defense. She matched up against the Haywood girl a lot. She matched up against some of their guards on the perimeter. She's a great defender inside out. That's where she really made a big difference in that one. She moves her feet well, like I said. She walls up in the post. She wasn't as big as the Haywood girl, and I think the Haywood girl had a sister, older sister, on the team. She did a good job, inside against those girls. Made it tough, and then, in overtime, it was just pretty much all Jackson. They really dominated overtime, made winning plays, got good shots, knocked down shots. It came away 65-59 victors, and that set up a championship matchup against Francis Howell. Francis Howell, another very good team, coming into that championship game. They were the 1 seed. MICDS was the 2 seed. Yeah, and against Francis Howell, it was a little bit of two-headed monster. Even scoring, Kate Deck and Cameron Allsdorf both had 17 in the game. It was all Jackson, from memory serves me, really. Indians came out, played well throughout, took a lead, never really relinquished a lead. The press was working, and it's something that, really has worked all season for Jackson. They've done a great job pressuring the other team full court, forcing a lot of turnovers, or at least speeding teams up, making them take bad shots, have bad possessions. Yeah, and that's what, they did again. In that championship game, I said Cameron and Kate both had 17. Lauren Dory had 7. Lily Watkins had 6. So, great performances in that one. I guess I didn't mention in the rest of the scoring. It was mostly, like I said, Deck had 28, Allsdorf had 14, Watkins had 5, Henderson had 4, Lily Cole had 4. So it was definitely a little bit lopsided scoring in the box score, but, everybody stepped up. The whole team plays incredible defense. Once again, Henderson, Lily Cole, Watkins, Berger, they all come out. They play great defense. They're just fun to watch. I know a lot of people, girls basketball is not for everybody. People complain. As a person with 3 younger sisters, I watched a lot of girls basketball. I watched a lot of junior high girls basketball, which, no offense if you're a junior high parent, it's not good basketball. It's not good basketball. It's tough to watch, but I've watched a lot of girls basketball, and I can tell you this Jackson team is very good. They're very fun to watch. And the Jackson JV team won a Hazelwood West tournament, I believe. Hazelwood, a lot of Hazelwoods. Won a Hazelwood West tournament, so the future's now. Jackson has some seniors on this team that are very good players. Cameron, who I mentioned, she was all-tournament team, as was Kate Deck. Deck had 52 in the tournament total. Cameron Allsdorf had 41. Cameron Allsdorf's a senior. Lily Cole's a senior. Addison Criddle's a senior. But they have a lot of young players that are very good. I mentioned Henderson, Deck, both freshmen. That JV team, a lot of freshmen, very good. Berger's only a sophomore, so very good team, great future. If you have the opportunity, I would definitely tell you to go check out Jackson the rest of this season. And then, we can kind of, that wrapped up, I guess, this past week. We can kind of transition here into this week's games. If you are a small school boys basketball fan, there's a couple of interesting boys games on Monday, not in, Cape Jackson area, but South Irons playing Bunker. That's kind of far away, but really interesting game. 2 really, really good small schools. And Richland is at Puxico, kind of a rivalry. These teams have played each other 50 times this season. Puxico, been dominant. So it'll be interesting, though. See if Richland come back, make it difficult. But then Tuesday is a big day for boys basketball. Jackson will be hosting Charleston. Jackson 17-3 now after a 2-0 week, taking on the Blue Jays. Charleston's 10-8 at the moment. They just went 2-1 at the Superman Classic, so they're kind of rounding into form. If you saw Charleston early in the season, it wasn't the prettiest always. They went 2-0 at the SEMO Conference Tournament. Had maybe the worst offensive game I've ever seen in my life in the 5th place game at the Christmas Tournament. But it's a young team, once again. I mean, it's Deshaun Henderson, big man inside, is a senior, and he's a returner. But besides that, it is a young core. It's Treshawn Shandon's a sophomore, Shylan Henderson, Trinez Lane, DK Williams, all very young guys who are all playing really, really well now. Like, they've really kind of gotten used to maybe the physicality, the speed, the pace of the game, and they're working together, playing really well. Shandon is leading the team in points, rebounds. He's averaging 14 and 7. So it'll be a good game. If you made me make a prediction there, I think Jackson should win, but I think it will be very tough. If you hadn't kept up with Farmington in the meantime, since you've seen them last maybe in the Christmas tournament, it's going to be a lot closer probably than you think it would be. I think this could be a tough game for the Indians, and Charleston is coached very well. Coach DeMarcus Williams, one of the best. He is Charleston through and through, and they're going to come in to the event center, no fear. And I think really try to come after the Indians. And then for Cape Central, they take their hot last month of the season up to St. Louis. They play at CBC, who is having a down year in CBC standards. They're 9-8. Most of their losses have been in their Metro Catholic Conference, maybe the toughest conference in the entire state. 9-8, like I said. I think their star big man, Michael Michalski, who's 6'10", is out with injury. I looked up their box score. The last game they had a box score for. He wasn't in there, so I'm assuming he's out. But they have a ton of size. If he is playing, he's 6'10". It's going to be tough inside. They got two other 6'7" guys that play a lot. 6'5" guy on the wing who's good. The leading scorer for them, Devin Houston. He's 6'3" guard. He's scoring 22 points a game. So that's going to be a great game. It'll surely be streamed somewhere. I'm not sure. I think CBC streams their games on YouTube. But I have to assume Ryan Winkler with Withers Broadcasting over on 95.7 Cape Radio will have the Cape game. And I think if you look up Cape Central Sports, he'll be streaming the game on YouTube if that ability is available, depending on internet up there. But that'll be a good game. I have no reason to believe that Cape can't win it. Like I said, maybe a little bit of a down team for CBC, but they're super talented. I mean, they're going to have size all over the floor. They're going to have shooters. They're going to have great skills. But if Cape plays defense the way they have, I have a lot of faith they can get a victory. And speaking of teams needing a victory, Saxony 6-13 right now. They go on the road to St. Vincent. St. Vincent sitting at 6-9 on the year. It's a chance for Saxony to go on the road, maybe get that victory over St. Vincent. A little bit of a holy war, if you will. Unless it's appropriate. Between those two teams. And yeah, I think that's an opportunity for Saxony to maybe pick one up in the win column. We'll see. St. Vincent, usually tough, usually play pretty sound offensively and defensively. And then in the SEMO Conference, there's a couple more games. Dexter at Sykeston. I expect Sykeston to win by a lot. Bluff at New Madrid. Going to be a toss-up. Bluff maybe, if the Durdans are healthy. If not, it might be a really low-scoring game, but we'll see. Otherwise, small school basketball. Twin Rivers at Bernie. Interesting game to me. Puxico is at East Carter County. Bell City at Bloomfield. Could be interesting. Bloomfield, they want to take the air out of the ball. Expect it to be low-scoring. And then Wednesday, according to Notre Dame's Misha site, they are playing Woodland. Very, very, very interesting game, in my opinion. Woodland, 16-2. They play super fast. They have guards everywhere, Van Gennep, Layton, Schock, Kinder, Lane Lee, they're all interchangeable. They're all 5'10" to 6'2". They fly up and down the court. They pressure you full court. They want to get up and down. They want to shoot from the perimeter. So it'll be a very, very, very interesting matchup for Notre Dame. It'll be at Notre Dame. So we'll see how that plays. This is an opportunity for Brett Dohan to dominate inside. They do have a good – Woodland does have a post player in McCormick who's solid, but he's given up, 3, 4, 5 inches maybe to Dohan. So I think it's an opportunity for him to maybe show off around the basket, but it will be tough. Like I said, Woodland can put up points in a hurry, and that's kind of the big question for Notre Dame. Can they score with them? So we'll see how that game goes, but that is a very, very interesting kind of non-SEMO conference versus in-SEMO conference battle. Maybe one of the more interesting ones here in this area for the rest of the season. It's the only game in the county here, one of the only really notable games on Wednesday, February 5th. Some more, out-of-area games a little bit. Meadow Heights Leopold plays Thursday. Richland Risco plays Thursday. So those are interesting, kind of rivalry games in both of those. But then Friday, the action picks back up at the Jackson Event Center. The Indians will be hosting Webster Groves. Webster Groves, phenomenal. I don't know if those watching, listening, if you've seen Webster Groves recently, they're very, very good. They're 13-4. They have awesome guards. They have one guy in Scotty Atkinson who has offers pretty much everywhere already. He's only a sophomore. He was incredible last season as a freshman. So it's going to be a very tough matchup, even as a little bit of a homer. I won't pick Jackson to win that game. It is I'll believe it when I see it type of situation, because Jackson has not beaten Webster Groves. I don't know what I can't look back further than Misha's records, which I think go back to 2008. I know from my experience, it didn't matter how good we were, how bad we were, how good or bad Webster Groves was. We could just never beat them. And it says on here, Jackson 0-14 all time against Webster Groves. That is from 2008 to now. So yeah, last season at Webster Groves, Jackson pretty much got crushed 70-55. A couple years ago, Jackson lost by 1. Like I said, we lose in any form or fashion. We lose by 20. We lose by 1. It'll be a tough test. The Indians will be tested. This is maybe the best backcourt the Indians will see all season. So, I'll be on the call for that one. I'll definitely be pulling for Jackson to win that one. But it'll be a very, very, very tough test, and we'll see. If Cole can get going, he does love these challenges, playing good teams. So if he's able to get hot, this could be a game if it's 1 possession, 2 possession game, the last 5 minutes of the game. Jackson's shown the ability to win those games, so we'll see if they're able to do that, but it would be definitely a sizable upset, I would say, if Jackson is able to come away with that victory. So I won't predict it as of now, but I'll be pulling for it to happen. I was trying to pull up the rankings. So Webster Groves is currently the last boys basketball rankings. They're number 6 in Class 5. So, hey, Jackson just beat the number 3 team in Class 5. So we'll see if that translates over or not. But Webster Groves very good. And then Notre Dame will be hosting Saxony. So a couple of in-county teams playing each other. A little bit Cape Fruitland game. I would expect Notre Dame to win that ball game. Saxony kind of struggling a bit, like I said. Little well below 500. Notre Dame trying to get back up to 500, sitting at 8-10. So if they have a big week here, they could possibly get back to 500 or over. We'll see what they do there. But that's another game I expect, Dohan to kind of feast, and we'll see what happens around him. Colton Johnson, like I said, has really gotten going. So see if he's able to continue that back here in Southeast Missouri against Saxony, and then around the area some more. Woodland will be at Kennett. Could be interesting. I expect Woodland to win that. And then Sykeston at Poplar Bluff. Sykeston trying to stay undefeated in the SEMO Conference. I expect them to. And then Saturday, I don't at the moment have an exact schedule. I will try to get that. But check out our socials on either Twitter/X, Facebook. If I get the exact schedule, I will post it onto the Exit 99 account. So make sure and check us out on any social media. Follow, subscribe, whatever you got to do to get those updates. For the Charleston 6-man shootout is what I was alluding to. Every year Charleston hosts this shootout where they have a lot of good teams from this area take on tough teams from, outside of the area. Usually St. Louis schools come down, and that's mostly the case here. Charleston and Sykeston will actually be playing each other because their game got canceled earlier in the year due to bad weather. And so it'll be Sykes and Charleston playing each other as the only in-conference game going on. Richland will play Meridian from Southern Illinois. East Prairie will be taking on St. Mary's Southside. That's who I think was supposed to be playing Charleston. So that'll be a very interesting game. If you're not familiar, East Prairie, very good small school team. They get up and down. They're very talented. They have some very good players. Markham, Noah Johnson. They can score with the best of them. St. Mary's has probably the best point guard in the state. His older brother also played there. His name was Yuri Collins. He went on to have a great career at SLU. He was like the leading assist man every year in college basketball at St. Louis University. And his younger brother, Kyrie Collins, butchering it, is awesome as well. He's a guy that can go off of 40 any night. So that'll be a fun game to watch. New Madrid takes on Confluence Prep, who played Jackson earlier in the year. Jackson really handled them, but they like to get up and down and press. And then Cape Central, the game to talk about here, is taking on Principia. Principia is very tough. That is a team that has beaten Jackson by 15, 16, something like that, up at the St. Francis Borgia tournament to start the year. They beat Sykeston by single digits already earlier in the year. They're currently ranked number 1 in Class 3, so they are very good. They have good length inside. They're not, overwhelmingly tall. They've got what you expect. They got 6'7", 6'6", 6'5" guys all throughout the front court. Their guards, though, are very good. They have very talented guards. They can score inside, outside. They can shoot it well. They got a guy named Kingston Money, who's a sophomore, very good player. A guy named Gassim Torre, who is very, very talented, very good scorer, 3-level scorer, getting college interest. And a big guy inside, I believe, named Sekou Cisse. And Cisse is very, very good around the rim, athletic, strong around the bucket. Not going to kill you with post moves, but athletic. If he gets it inside, gets it in the paint, he can turn up and score over people pretty easily. So that'll be a very big test for Cape. So I'm excited to see how the Tigers handle these back-to-back really tough tests going to CBC and Principia. They've met every challenge so far this new year and have conquered it. But this will definitely be a step up, in my opinion. Like I said, Jackson is good, but they got blown out by Principia. So it'll be interesting to see how Cape Central responds in that one. Then, over on the girls' side, a pretty busy week in the Cape Jackson area. Busy Monday, that's for sure. Jackson has a big matchup on the road at Doniphan. Doniphan came to Cape, beat Notre Dame earlier. That is a very, very good Doniphan team. They beat Jackson last season. They came to Jackson and beat Jackson. And once again, Doniphan very good in the last girls' rankings on January 20th, or the most recent one I have at the time of recording. Doniphan is number 5 in Class 4. And yeah, they are very, very good. They have good size inside, and they can really, really shoot it from the perimeter. They have, young girls that are very talented. And, last year they came into Notre Dame undefeated, dropped that one in the playoffs. And so they're really on a mission this season to kind of make up for what they felt like was a little bit of a lost season last year. Doniphan 16-1, Jackson 14-1. So a heck of a matchup. Doniphan averages 63 points a game. They're giving up 34. So they are blowing people out. They've crushed Kennett. They beat Notre Dame close. It was a low-scoring game, 40-34. Ugly ball game, but they did come away victorious here at Notre Dame. And yeah, they've beat Jackson twice in a row now. Jackson lost to Doniphan on the road a couple years ago, 57-53. And then here at the Event Center last year, Doniphan won 65-53. So I know the Indians. That'll be a great game. If, I can find it, I'll definitely share the stream for that as well. That is a heck of a game. I would definitely implore you to watch that game. But then you have a Cape Girardeau rivalry, crosstown rivalry on Monday. Notre Dame and Cape Central be playing each other. I'm intrigued by the matchup. If you made me pick, once again, I would say I would take Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame just has a hair bit more on their side. And they will be playing they'll be playing that game at home, Notre Dame is. And yeah, I think it'd be a good matchup. Cape is hovering around 500. Notre Dame, I have them at 8-8 on Misha's website. Both of them giving up is about as many points as they score. Both of them hovering around 50 points per game scored, 50 points given up. So I'm think it could be a good game, but I don't know. I'm really leaning Notre Dame in this one. Notre Dame blew them out at Notre Dame in the SEMO Conference Tournament, 71-42. So I don't know if it'd be that big of a margin, but I do think Notre Dame will win and probably win by double digits in that one. Then Saxony will be hosting Dexter. Dexter's a tough team. They got a Nichols girl that I think is signed to play volleyball at the next level. She's a good basketball player as well, so that'll be a tough one. And then Kennett playing at Saxon will be interesting to watch, just if you're a fan of watching a really talented player. Lisa Edwards, as I mentioned, is a bucket. Wednesday, Cape will be hosting Farmington. Farmington's a very good team. That'll definitely be an uphill battle, I think, for the Tigers. Thursday, Cape goes, at least according to the Misha website I have pulled up right now. Yep, they go to the road at Cairo. Tough place to play. Cairo, or Cape Central beat Cairo already earlier in this year. So see if they're able to repeat that at Cairo this time. Tough to do maybe, but I like Cape in that one. I think they can go on the road to Cairo. Cairo, you never know what to expect. I know earlier in the season they finished the game with like 2 girls on the court, 1 girl on the court. Yeah, I like Cape Central in that one. And then Jackson will be hosting Poplar Bluff. Poplar Bluff, not what they have been. No Kylie Bess anymore. No, like they've had in the past. I expect Jackson to kind of win that game, take care of business at home. I think the Indians' pressure will really swallow up Poplar Bluff in that one. And I think Jackson will be able to come away with a big win there. And then I believe Notre Dame will be hosting Saxony as well in girls basketball. Boys and girls will be hosting Saxony this week. And once again, I like Notre Dame in that. Saxony, I have them at 3-14. I like Notre Dame there in that one. The Bulldogs have a great inside presence between Wagner and Barnett. I like what they do down low, and I think they come up victorious over Saxony and Cape Central. Big week playing, in-county rivals for the Lady Bulldogs. I think they'll be able to take care of business and come away with a couple of victories in that one. So that's all I have for Cape Jackson area basketball games. There was a lot to kind of get out there. I do want to give some shout outs here before I hit the road, kind of non-Cape Jackson area. Puxico, as I mentioned, played Woodland in the Stoddard County Tournament Championship, and Puxico blew them out, just destroyed Woodland. Very surprising. Hand up. I thought Woodland would win that matchup. Woodland had never won the Stoddard County Tournament before. Puxico hadn't won it in like 40 years. And so I was maybe pulling for Woodland a little bit in that one, but they did not come out ready or competitive at all in that one. So that was shocking to witness, needless to say at least. Keep your eyes open for the Boot Heel Conference Tournament. Very, very good tournament this year. All those small school teams down in the Boot Heel, very good. Campbell, South Pemiscot, Crothersville, Hayti. It just feels like a circle of them beating each other every week. So I think it'll be a fun tournament to keep an eye on. The boys' side of the Scott, Mississippi tournament going on. They already played the opening games at time of recording. Chaffee, Scott City, East Prairie, Oran all won the opening games. I'm expecting to see Scott City and East Prairie match up for a second time in that championship game. And it's at Scott City. So at the moment, I'm going to lean toward the Rams, but it would not shock me to see that go either way. East Prairie is very, very good. They like to get up and down. So I can see that being a high scoring game potentially. But Scott City did keep it in the 50s last time they played. So I will give at least home court advantage nod to Scott City. And speaking of Scott City, shout out to Coach Mark Dannenmuller. He won his 219th career ball game at Scott City. It makes him the all-time leader in wins there. So a big accomplishment for him. He's been there a while. Congratulations, Coach Dannenmuller. Big accomplishment, 219 wins, a lot of wins. So congrats to him. And then something I didn't have all the results of the last time we recorded, I don't want to get some shine to, over on the wrestling mat. They had the SEMO conference meet. And on the boys' side, Jackson won the conference title as a team for the first time since 2020. over Hillsborough, 365 to 362. So very close finish between those two. Wrestling powers. Hillsborough always great. Jackson always very, very good. The Indians had 3 individual champions, 13 total medalists. So awesome showing by the Indians. I'm just going to run through each of the kind of medalists for the Cape Jackson Notre Dame group that all wrestled. At 106, Dane Armstrong got 6th. At 113, Camden Gerhardt of Jackson got 3rd, and Oscar Kester of Notre Dame got 6th. At 120, it's one of the winners for Jackson, Grady Rice, who's having a great year. Won at 120 pounds. Big tournament for Grady, picking up a gold medal there. At 126, Mitchell Baker of Jackson got 3rd. At 132, the second champion for the Indians, Cade King, who's also wrestling very, very well right now. He picked up the gold medal spot there for the Indians. So shout out to Cade, winning at 132 pounds. At 138, Gannon Rice got 3rd for the Indians. At 144, Jacob Milam got 3rd for the Indians. At 150, Caleb Schlick made the final, but lost that one. He got 2nd for the Indians. And then Parker Lemons for Notre Dame won his 3rd place bout and picked up 3rd for the Bulldogs. At 157, Sawyer Goodwin got 2nd for the Indians. At 165, Matthew May got 4th for Jackson. And the final champion for the Indians, Joe Moore, picked up the gold medal top spot at 175. And I read that he pinned every opponent he faced. So shout out to Joa. He's a guy who really came on. I'm excited to see his career across all sports. He came on late in football season. He started playing really, really well, got a lot of time down the stretch, was an awesome linebacker. So I'm not surprised to see he's a sick wrestler as well. So congrats to Joa, crushing it, winning conference there. At 190, Jordan Sustillo got 3rd for the Indians. Connor Jackson over at Notre Dame, he got 6th. At 215, Cole Williams of Notre Dame dropped his championship bout. He got 2nd, and Charlie Eifert of Jackson got 3rd. You jump up to 285. Bryson Wessel of Jackson lost 2-1 decision. Got a stalling penalty called on him in the final. Lost 2-1 there. It's a tough break for Bryson. I know he's been wrestling well. And awesome football player as well. Left tackle for the Indians. Dropped the 285 championship. Got 2nd to a wrestler from St. Genevieve. And over on the girls' side, 110, shout out to Kaylee Milam of Jackson. She got 1st. She's the lone champion in the Cape area. She is the 2nd ever 2-time conference champion at Jackson. So shout out to Kaylee. Once again, Beast pinned every opponent, I believe. And she pinned her opponent in the finals in 11 seconds is what I have. So monster run by her, pinning her opponent in 11 seconds in finals. That's crazy. And then Williams from Cape, Lilu Williams, got 4th at 115. And then at 145, Madison Smoot from Cape Central got 2nd. So congratulations to all those wrestlers. I'm excited to see, as we kind of get down the road here, how people are closing out their seasons. Wrestling, a little bit of a war of attrition, I know. I'm not, I can't say I know the most about wrestling. I'll admit that from the very beginning. I will not pretend that I do. But I know it's a little bit of a war of attrition. Just, if you can stay healthy, make it to the end of the season healthy, I think a lot of Jackson wrestlers especially have a good chance to make a run. And a lot of these Cape and Notre Dame kids also wrestling very well right now. I'm excited to see how they close out their season as well. The last few shout-outs, shout out to Simo, Teddy Washington Jr. hit a game winner against Tennessee State. That was sick. I was watching that game there. And then a few local athletes signed to play at the next level. Kai Crow signed with Truman State. What's there to say, about Kai? He was awesome for the Indians the last few years. He's, in my opinion, one of the best receivers the last decade plus. I'd say behind, Jordan Kent, especially numbers-wise, maybe Cannon Turley numbers-wise. But yeah, Kai has been awesome for the Indians the last couple of years. 2 different quarterbacks. Has been All-State the last 2 years. This past season, he played some defensive back, played safety, got in the backfield, played running back. It was super effective everywhere he played. He was an awesome kicker, didn't miss a field goal all season, and didn't miss an extra point all season. So great athlete, super fun to watch the last few years. He signs with Truman State, who's coached by Coach Nesbitt's brother. So shout out to Truman State, get picking up Kai Crow. And then also shout out to Wisconsin Platteville. They got 2 local athletes, Zaire Thomas, SEMO Conference Player of the Year, who has been an electric factory the last few years. He's one of the most fun players in the area to watch. Track speed out there. If you let him get in the space, he's gone in a heartbeat, returning kicks, returning punts. He does it in the backfield at running back. He splits out wide as an awesome receiver. Shout out to Zaire. And then Gavin Allspaw of Jackson, played defensive back this year, had played offense up until this point. Flipped over to the defensive side, was really, really good for the Indians. Great tackler, very physical, good speed, turned his hips well, ran, chasing, could run with pretty much anybody that he covered. Had a great year in his 1 year defensive back for the Indians. And so both those guys pack a jacket going up to southwest Wisconsin, I believe, over in Platteville. So that's really cool seeing those 2 guys go up there together. I'm going to be playing together hopefully for the next few years. And then Zach Crump, I just saw the other day, committed to William Penn University. So shout out to Zach Crump. He really, really built over the last couple of years and was an awesome power back for the Indians. He's big kid, just run over people. So he's very fun to watch. Yeah, I think that just about does it. All my shout outs to end it. So I'm excited. It was a great week of basketball last week. A lot of big wins for teams in the area. Some tough weeks. If you're Notre Dame going 0-4, losing to a lot of good teams, but the Bulldogs have a chance to really kind of rectify the situation, pick up some victories, and play some teams that they are capable of beating. I expect them to come out, play well. They have a big one against Woodland, like I said, that'll go either way. I expect them to maybe pick up a win against Saxony, hopefully get back on the right track for Notre Dame. But yeah, I think that'll just about do it for me. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. Make sure to, if you're watching on YouTube, like, subscribe, even hit the notification bell to get any, know when we post on there. If you're listening on Spotify or Apple, Amazon, hit the follow, hit subscribe. I appreciate all of you that do listen. It's been a lot of fun doing this. And then on Facebook, and Twitter, I'm pretty active on there. Going to be posting more updates as the season goes on about streams and tournaments and anything going on for all these teams in this area the rest of the season. So once again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching. It's been a great time talking basketball again, and I'm excited to see how all this fun basketball and other sports in this area go this coming week. So thank you all for listening. Have a great one. Good night. I don't like the way that goes. Why do I keep saying good night? It's not night for everybody that's listening to this. It could be daytime. Whatever. It's okay. Figure it out. We'll wrap up closer better. Like I could say, have a good one, everybody. Thank you all for listening, as always, here at Exit 99 Sports.